All right, what is up, you guys? I am back with another Tuesday talk after about a week long away. And if you're wondering why there's an eagle on the screen, just like with Ataga, I'm going to be talking with y'all about my experience at my very first private school. Now, believe it or not, Ataga was not my very first private school uh, that I went to. The very first private school that I went to was this Christian school called New Life Christian Academy. And I'm going to be giving y'all a rundown of what happened to me, both the good and the bad, from my 3 year period in that school, starting from kindergarten all the way to second grade in that order. Um, and I'm going to be giving y'all a little bit of history behind the school. Not much though, because I really don't know much about the background of the school. Um, but I'm going to be giving y'all the best information that I have on the background of the school. Um, so I guess let's start with the um, background. Um, so this school was built around 1920-ish. I'm not sure, but it was built around the 1920s. This school had around 200 students, and the way that the school was laid out was you had every grade in one school. So the lowest grade, which was pre-K, and the highest grade, which was 12th grade. Um, and the way the school was laid out, the way it all panned out was there was this really big building um, over on, I think it was the north side of the school, where it was the gym and the upstairs, I think it was the freshman classrooms, the upstairs freshman classrooms. Um, the gym, we had like a little trophy display, and we had bathrooms in there, of course. Um, then over, um, then if you were to walk out of that building, go straight, turn right, you would hit the fifth and sixth grade classrooms, which was this little kind of dinky looking trailer. It had, if you were to go inside it, which I only went in there once, but I still have a very fond memory of what it looked like. Um, so if you were to walk in, you'd see this big wall with a door right in the middle of it. And you could walk back and forth between the fifth and sixth grade classrooms because it was interconnected. The trailer and the fifth and sixth grade classrooms were all connected. So um, you could walk back and forth between the two classrooms. And I thought at the time, me being little Vincent kindergartner, that was the coolest thing that I had ever seen. Wow, two classrooms in the same trailer. That's so cool. But, you know, um, I was such a nerd back then. I still am. Um, but if you were to walk out of the sixth grade door leading out and you were to walk straight, you would hit the classroom which had the first through fourth grade classrooms on there. Um, and to your right was the second and third grade classrooms, and to your left was the first and fourth grade classrooms. And this was all in one. The building was one hallway with rooms on either side. Um, and then if you were to walk out um, the main entrance of that building and you were to turn, I think it was left, if I remember correctly. If you were to turn left, you would hit the main office building where all of the administrators and your bathrooms and the headmaster and the principal's office. That's where that all that stuff was. Um, and keep in mind, notice that I said headmaster and principal. Now, I thought that this was the weirdest thing ever, having a school with two principals, but now it's just commonplace because my high school has five principals. I mean, there are so many assistant principals at that school that I've pretty much lost count of how many there are. Um, But this school had a headmaster, a principal, and a bunch of other administrative people there. Um, but I guess since all that's done, and I'm sorry if the introduction was so short, there's not really a lot of information on the background of the school that I know about. But I guess since we're done with the history of the school, then let's talk about what happened to me during my kindergarten year. And to understand what happened to me during my 3 year period here, um, you're going to need to understand something about me. Um, so, my biological dad is black. My mom is white, so therefore I am both black and white. And me, I don't really like to talk about this stuff that much. I mean, because number one, people don't ask me, and number two, with the way that the world is now, me being mixed and me going into this kind of world that we're going into, my mom, she's always told me, it's gonna be harder for you. You're gonna have to really, look out for yourself because, you know, I'm obviously gonna be, you know, treated differently than other people might be. Anyway, um, so me being a mixed person at this school, I was treated like an outcast. I was picked on. I was bullied. The teachers, they treated me like an outcast. Um, they were very, very unkind to me. Now, granted, I had a good bit of friends at this school. Um, I don't know where they are now. I don't know what they're doing. I don't even know if they're going to the same school, but I really hope that they're all doing okay. Um, but now that that's all out of the way, let's actually quit stalling and actually start talking about what happened to me during my kindergarten year. So, my mom and my dad, when we first moved out to Prattville from Russell County, um, from my first school, Dixie Elementary, when we moved from Russell County from my grandma's house to my dad's house in Prattville, um, they were looking at schools and they were like, all right, it's either we send them to New Life, which is all the way in Millbrook, which we know that that's pretty far, but it's either that or we send them to an all black school. And my mom, she didn't want me to be an outcast. She didn't want me to stand out. So they thought that their best option would be to send me to New Life. Um, so me being the new kid at this really big school with all these kids, you know, me basically me and my mom being the new people in this town that had just moved from a whole nother part of the state, we were both kind of nervous about what this school was going to be like for me because we didn't know what we were getting into. I mean, we had spoken to the administrators, and they, I don't know, I wasn't there for the conversation, but I'm pretty sure that just like all the other schools, they named off the positive stuff and only the positive stuff uh, uh, that that this school had to offer. So, um, my first day, I was very, very nervous, like all kids, and I don't really remember much, but um, I was nervous. But I did feel a bit better because I did go to church with my grandparents a lot when we lived out there, and I had a lot of church friends who went to the school, who were my friends. Kind of, I had a lot of I I I forgot what I was gonna say. Holy crap! Um, I had I had a lot of friends from church who went to the school, so I felt a little bit better about going into this school because I was like, I've got friends from church. I've got friends. I've got a good bit of friends, so I'm gonna be okay. Um, But my first day, I don't really remember much, but I tried my best to stay out of trouble. But, me being the new kid, I was kind of picked on, treated kind of like an outcast a little bit. It was very, very subtle at first. I was given like a lot of weird looks, but over the course of 3 years, it became very apparent that they were treating me differently than all the other kids. Um, One thing I want to note is that it may have only been because I was there for 3 years, but I never saw a black kid in that school from what I remember. I, there wasn't a black kid in any of my classes. I never saw anyone like that. And me knowing my heritage, that struck me as odd because I thought there'd be more diversity in the school, but there really wasn't, and it didn't really bother me that much. It was just kind of surprising. Um, but my first day was okay. I don't really remember much, but um, there was this one girl that I used to be obsessed with in kindergarten. Actually, all throughout the school, all throughout my 3 years, that I used to be obsessed with. Her name was Lily, and she had this little sister, and I used to chase her around the playground with my hands drawn up like finger guns, pretending to shoot at her. And I'm not sure if she was running away from me or if she was playing with me, but yeah, there was that. And we actually um, we played together a lot. I played with my friends a lot throughout the time that I was there, and despite the way the school was, I had a lot of fun there. Um, the first time that I think I got in trouble was when I was chasing Lily as usual every single day at the playground, and she climbs up on this little domed kind of turtle shell shaped structure on the playground with these metal tubing bars on them that you can climb up and over on. And I picked up some rocks because the playground, there wasn't dirt, there wasn't grass, there was rocks. So I picked up some of those rocks and I threw them at her, and they shotgunned out, and some of them hit her. And my teacher calls me over and she's like, "Vincent, why did you throw rocks at Lily?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I was trying to get her down and I just wanted to play with her." And my teacher, for, she had me sit down for the rest of the time during recess. Um, and I don't really remember much from my kindergarten year that much, but that was, I think, the first time that I got in trouble. First grade was, I'm gonna describe it like my friend, like my um other friend describes his sixth grade year. It was very crappy, to say the least. It was very, very first grade was not good to me. Um so my first grade teacher was this very, very health conscious black lady named Miss Carter. And this was the very kindergarten, because I was in kindergarten, I really didn't pick up on the clues that I was being treated like an outcast and I was being treated differently. But when I got into first grade and I started processing a bit more and I started remembering more stuff, it became way more apparent that I was being treated differently than a lot of the other students. There was this one kid named Brody who he picked on me a lot. He was one of the meaner kids, but over the years, me and him became really good friends, and we kind of rekindled our relationship towards the end of my second grade year, and we were pretty good friends towards the end of my school time there. And I'll tell you about how we kind of became friends a little bit later. But um, in first grade, um, if I can name a couple couple instances. Um, there was one time when we had these little cubbies with all our stuff in it, and I'm sorry if you hear clicking. That's just my chair. Um, we had these little cubbies with these chairs, with not chairs, but with our stuff in them, and we would get our stuff out for the day, and we'd put it on our desk, and then we'd do our work for the day, and so I go into my cubby one day, and I get my crayons, and they're these really cheap, crazy art crayons that my dad had bought me, and I get these out, and I'm taking them out, and I'm taking my pencil, and I'm taking my pencil sharpener, and she comes over to me, and she's like, "Vincent, why are you using these?" Anyway, as I was saying, um, so I pull out these crayons, and really cheap, crazy art crayons, like I said earlier. And Miss Carter, she comes storming over to my cubbyhole, and she's like, "Vincent, what kind of crayons are you using?" And I look up at her, and I'm looking, and I've got my head almost straight up because I'm this short little guy, and she's towering over me. Um, so I'm like, they're um, they're crazy art, Miss Carter, and she's like, "No, you can't use these. These are too cheap. You need to go out and buy some more high quality crayons because these are gonna break easier." And um so I'm like, "What? I didn't know the crayons could break that easy." Because I had tried purposely to break crayons before at church and at home, and I failed miserably. I could not for the life of me break these crayons. So when Miss Carter told me that they were gonna break easier, I was like, "But how? I've never been able to break one before." So I get home that day, and I'm trying to do my homework, and uh every day my dad would ask me, "Do you have homework?" Even on Fridays he'd ask me, and I'd be like, "Dad, it's Friday. No, I don't have homework." And on the day that this happened, I go home, and my dad's there, and I'm like, "Dad, um something happened at school today," and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, my teacher told me that I couldn't use crazy art crayons because they were gonna break easier." And he's like, "All right, well then I guess just just don't worry about it. Use those crayons, because there's no point in buying you more crayons if she's gonna be this stupid." Um, but um, so first grade was not good. I'm gonna give y'all more insight onto that. Um, my my teacher, Miss Carter, she she had this armor, this medieval armor, not a full set, but this medieval armor that she kept on the top shelf, on the very tippy top shelf of her room. And she only got that down on very special occasions. And she let select students wear them. And I w- I wasn't one of the kids who got to wear them, who got to wear the set of armor, which I had always wanted to wear it, but you know, um, I just I I wasn't ever picked, and to this day I still wonder why I wasn't picked. But you know, they had this one kid named Logan who went up there one day, and my teacher gets this down, and she's like, "Your feet are shocked with the oh my gosh. I I don't remember what she put on the feet, so I can't say what the feet were shocked with or whatever. But um I remember her putting the different pieces of the armor and giving him the shield and the sword, and her shouting out what they each meant. And she was like, you have the shield of truth, and you have the breastplate of righteousness, and you have the breastplate of righteousness, and you have the shield of truth, and all this other stuff. And I'd sit there, and I'd just be like, this is the coolest stuff ever. Why am I never picked? And then there was another time when we used to watch these short videos at the end of the day, to where it was like these rainbow reading little short videos, always hosted by a really funny dude. I don't remember his name. I don't remember what he looked like, but this really upbeat host of a like kind of children's TV show type thing, and these were based off of little children's novels. They had little morals at the end of them. But there was one that I always liked. It was about this humpback whale. It was about this humpback whale named I think it was either Henry or Billy. And it was a victim of pollution in the ocean. And I always thought that that was the coolest thing because I've always been a lover of whales, both the province and of the animal. But I've always loved whales. So that was my favorite one. And a lot of times I would get sent out for disruption or talking during the video, even though the person next to me would be the one trying to instigate it. They'd be trying to talk to me, or I'd kind of slip a little word in with them, and my teacher would catch us, and she'd send me outside. But every time she did, I would listen in, because the walls were really thin. I would listen in, and they'd always be watching my favorite one. They'd always be watching the one about Billy the Whale, or Henry the Whale, or whatever his name was. And I just didn't feel like that was fair. And I never told anybody about it because I thought that it was just a weird coincidence. But, it was kind of disheartening and sad that they would watch my favorite one, knowing that I really liked that one. And they watched it every time I was sent out of the classroom. I'll be right back, guys. Anyway, I'm back, guys. I'm sorry that I keep leaving. My brother keeps coming to the door. But anyway, getting sent out of the classroom like that was very, very, was kind of just this subtle hint that I was being treated like an outcast, considering they watched my favorite video every time I was sent out. Now, PE. PE was good. It was the one part of the day that I actually enjoyed other than lunch. Well, there were parts of lunch that I really didn't enjoy, but their PE was really the only kind of time where I could go out other than recess, go out and get some fresh air, go out and run, go out and get my heart pumping, just go out and talk with my friends and just talk about just talk and just be free. But even then the rules were weird. Like the PE field for us also doubled as the football field. So if you've ever seen a football field, which I know most of you have, most of my 15 subscribers have, they've got this really big white square. And you were allowed to, you had to run, I think it was like 5 laps before you could be free to go play. Now, here's the catch, though. You weren't allowed to cut corners. So you weren't allowed to go diagonally. From one part of the corner to the other. And if you were caught, you'd get in trouble, which is the most ridiculous, most stupid rule I've ever heard of in any administration. Any any school, any administration, you can't cut corners on the football field. That's a no. That is incredibly stupid. Like, um, it's it was just weird, and even me as this little kid, I would sit there and I'd stomp my feet and I'd fold my arms and I'd be like, "This is stupid. This is like, this is really kind of stupid that they're not allowing me to, do this because I would just want to get done with this as fast as possible so I can go talk with my friend." Um, but it was just really weird, and that was another hint that I got that I was being treated differently than all the other kids. Um, I had a lot of people that were there to support me because they knew that I was the new kid. They knew. They saw me and they knew that I had good in me, and they would support me and they would kind of lift me up when I was feeling sad, and they were just really good friends to me. My friend from church, Sammy, me and him, we would just talk for hours on the football field about the Bermuda Triangle, about fire trucks, about the Titanic, just anything that would come across to our minds, we would just talk about it. And um, I had a lot of girlfriends. Now, before you freak out and say, "Ooh, you had a girlfriend," I'm gonna go into the comment section and tell people about this. Before you do that, I don't mean girlfriend as in come to your house and do stuff and spend the night there. I mean girlfriend as in go to school, talk with them, have fun with them, come home. Like, girlfriend and girlfriend are two different things. Um, uh, there was Eva, who was always chastised for being a diva or something. She was always uh, uh, berated and chastised by my second grade teacher, Miss Bowley, about being a diva. And you know, I want to get the full story in, but I hate to have to say this, but she used to have to go to the bathroom all the time, and I used to be really worried for her because she used to have to go pee all the time, and I just thought that it was the darndest thing because I was like, oh my gosh, is she okay? Like, why is she having to go to the bathroom so much? But I never really paid attention to it. It was very kind of odd to me. Um, so first grade was okay. I had those subtle hints like you heard me mention, but um, other than that, it was pretty uneventful. Other than talking with my friends and um, all of the other happenings around the school. Um, Now, second grade was where my mom and my dad really started getting worried for me. Was when um, they were like, okay, we need to pull him out of this school soon because if we don't, like, something's gonna happen. And like I said earlier, how I said lunch I really didn't enjoy. I'm gonna tell you all about my lunch experiences there as well. Um, in second grade, I was introduced to this whole new concept of you know um, day of the week homework. Um, it wasn't really called that, but I was introduced to this new kind of concept of uh, having scheduled days of homework. Um, because at Dixie Elementary and at Atauga, um, which, even then, when I got into Atauga, it took me a while to get back to the original format of having homework every day. But at Dixie and at Atauga, we had homework every day. Every day except for the weekends, we had homework. But at New Life, Mondays, now this only pertained to second grade. I'm not sure about third, fourth, or any of the other higher up grades, but on Mondays we had to write our spelling words in ABC order, which is something that I really hated doing because I would come home and sit at my bar and just cry because I couldn't do it and because it was so hard and because I had such trouble figuring out exactly what I was supposed to do to put these words in alphabetical order. But I got better at it, and I'm able to do it with my eyes closed now. Um, but you know, Mondays would be write your spelling words in ABC order. Tuesdays would be write them in order. Wednesdays would be free days. Thursdays would be reading days, and Fridays would be um. So anyway, um, I, I forgot what I was talking about, but anyway, um, first grade went by without a hitch. Like I I completely forgot because my brother came in here again and he was talking about Minecraft and I was like, okay, what was that talking about? Um, but I'm gonna pause this. I'll be right back. All right, so since I forgot what I was talking about, um, I'm gonna start talking about the lunch portion of school. Um, when I went to lunch, now Brody was this kid that he kind of picked on me a bit, but over the years, me and him became good friends towards the end of the year. Um, and one thing that I forgot to mention about first grade was um, I'm going to be talking a bit about first grade again before I transition over back into second grade and talking about lunch. But um, he was reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid one day at his desk, and my teacher comes over and she snatches the book from him. And she is flipping through the pages and she's got this look of disapproval on her face. And she flips it over. Her eyes get big. She gets this really mortified look on her face. And she's like, you never call people morons. Morons is, the word moron is a very bad word. You were not allowed to say that. So she took away. He had like 4 Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. She took them all away. And Brody is over here pleading with her, saying, it's just a book. It's just literature. It's just a book that I like to read during my downtime. Please let me have him back. But she did not let him have him back, and she took him away for like the rest of the week, I think. Um, and I used to be really obsessed with pencil sharpeners. Um, so I would borrow my friend Sammy's, and we would put our pencils in our pencil sharpeners to hold them because we didn't have anywhere to put our pencils. There was no pencil holder at the top of our desks. And they kept rolling down, and Mrs. Carter did not like that. And they kept rolling down, and she would come over to our desks, slam her hand down on the desk, and slam the pencil down to where it wouldn't make any other noise. Sorry, got a bit of saliva in the back of my throat. It made me cough. But anyway, so because she didn't like the noise and because we didn't have any pencil holders anywhere on our desk, me and Sammy got the bright idea to put them in our pencil sharpeners. Now, the balance between a pencil sharpener and a pencil, if you put the pencil in there and you leave it, a pencil is not designed to stay there. A pencil is designed to be put in there, to be twisted, to be taken out, and then boom, your pencil sharpened. But it's not designed to have a pencil in there for a sustained amount of time. So every time we would put these pencils in there, they would just knock over, and they keep knocking over, and eventually she took away our pencil sharpeners because they kept knocking over and they kept distracting the other students, which they weren't. Every time they knocked over, I would see one kid look up and look at our desk and be like, "You knocked over your pencil sharpener. Y'all might want to pick that up." I never saw any other kid look at us and be distracted. Um, but she took him away, and I don't think we ever got him back. Um, but first grade was, I said that it kind of went by uneventful, but this was the year that I started noticing the subtle hints that, you know, where I started to think to myself, yeah, you're you're kind of being treated differently, but that's okay because this is the best school. This is one of the best schools that you could be sent to. It's really, really nice. So you just gotta stay in here for a bit longer. And if anything else really bad happens, then you gotta tell your mom or your dad. And that was my mindset at the time. I was just gonna keep my head down and just keep on trucking until something really bad happened, which I pretty much knew that it was at that point. But um, I just decided to keep my head down, hold out, wait until something really bad happened to me or to any other kid, and I would tell my mom or I would tell my dad, and they'd pull me out of the school. So I did this until second grade. Now, I didn't stand up and say this school isn't right. I'm dropping out. I didn't do any of that because I ain't that type of kid. Um, but second grade was where I would come home and my mom and my dad would visibly see that I was shaken up, visibly see that I had gotten sad because I cried. I cried a lot. I'm a lot less prone to crying now, but in school, at New Life, at Autauga, I cried a lot. Um, but um, be, but my parents, they would see that I would be shaken up about something. Um, so they started getting the hint that something's going on at that school that we don't know about, that they're not telling us, that our son's not telling us, and he probably won't unless we go to the school and we either pull him out or we talk to them. Um, and we, get the situation resolved. Um, so in second grade, I had this um, really good friend named Eva. She was a girl, so she was a girlfriend. Remember, girlfriend and girlfriend are two different things. But she was a really good friend, and she used to have to go to the bathroom all the time. And my teacher, she wouldn't, my teacher, Miss Bowley, she wouldn't let her go. Because every time she asked, she'd be like, "Why do you have to go to the bathroom all the time? You want to know what you are, Eva? You're a diva. And you want to know what divas do? They ask to go to the bathroom and they stay in there until class is over. Because I used to teach high school classes. I know how you kids can be. So she would never let her go to the bathroom. Even though she'd sit there bouncing in her seat saying, but, but I really have to go. And I really hope that she didn't get any, like, really bad sick from that. Um, but second grade was probably my worst year. Was probably my worst year yet, and the reason why is because of what happened at my was because of what happened during lunch. So a whole slew of things happened during my lunch periods in first, second, and kindergarten. My first instance was again with Lily. I was planning on doing like this role play type play with her where I was going to be the dad and she was going to be the mom and her sister was going to be our kid. Like it was weird. I was a really weird kid in at New Life and at Otaga. And there was one time when I yelled at her from across the table. I was like, "Hey, hey, hey, Lily! In our role play tomorrow, can you be pregnant?" And my teacher, she looks at me and she takes us back to our classroom, and she's like, "Tell Lily that you're sorry." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, Lily," and of course she forgave me because. But anyway, uh, she was a very forgiving girl. She was very, very sweet from what I remember. Um, but yeah, the first time that the first lunch incident was me telling her that she was going to be pregnant in our next role play, little role play thing, being led back to our kindergarten classroom and being asked to say sorry, and she forgave me. The second thing that happened was my my fellow students, my fellow peers, they would sit there and they would eat Lunchables. Now, some of these kids, they had the really fancy Lunchables. They had some with like the pizza and stuff, and I'd see them put it in the microwave and then get it out, and the cheese would be all melted. Now, these kids were big, so they were probably in high school, ninth, 10th grade, somewhere around there. Um, and I'd see how good that food would look, and my Lunchables would be so disgusting and so repulsive that I'd have to go up there and ask my teachers if I could use the microwaves. First and only time that I asked to use the microwave, I went up to my first grade teacher and I was like, "Miss Carter, can I use the microwave?" And she's like, "No, the microwaves are only for the high schoolers, so ninth graders and up." And I'm like, "But my food is gonna be cold. It's it's gonna be cold." And apparently she didn't care because the microwaves were only for the high schoolers. Um, Now some of my stuff had to be heated up. Had to be heated up because it wouldn't be good otherwise. Like my mom would pack me leftovers from her job at Logan's or leftovers from dinner from the night before, and I wouldn't be allowed to heat it up. So I would be sitting there eating like cold chicken or cold onion rings from Logan's Roadhouse, and it was not very good. Um, and the other thing that happened was I think during second grade when I saw this I saw Brody, and this is how me and him I think eventually became friends. Um, he he pulls out this Tupperware container from his lunchbox, this Tupperware container with the blue lid, to be exact, and he opens the lid, and there's this square uh, uh, squiggly thing in there, and I recognized it to be ramen noodles, and I knew that we weren't allowed to use the I knew that we weren't allowed to use the microwaves, and I had gotten in trouble the day before, so I had silent lunch for like the 2 days. So I'm sitting over there next to the teachers, not allowed to talk, and he proceeds to open up the powder, pour it onto the ramen noodles, and and rub it down with his hand and eat it dry because he wasn't allowed to use the microwave. Um, and I felt so bad for this kid that after lunch, I came up to him and I was like, "Dude, I saw her take away your books. I saw you eating ramen noodles dry. I feel extremely bad for you. So like, do you just want to be my friend?" And he's like, "You know what? That that would be great." So me and him became good friends. for the remainder that I was there, for the remainder of the time that I was there. And I've got this tooth. It's my front right tooth, and I had the chip there for a while. But there was one time when I was laughing really hard, and my two front teeth were sticking out, and I banged my head against the table, and it hit my teeth, and this little teeny tiny shard of my tooth chipped off, and I could tell that it was a part of my tooth, and I slammed it down, and I think I was bleeding a little bit, and my friend he comes over and he's like, "Dude, are you okay? Like, geez, I think you chipped your tooth," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I think you might be right." Um, but and for some reason the lunch ladies would, just like at McDonald's, they would kind of always get your order wrong. Um, they Brody asked once for a four-piece chicken tender. They gave him two. Um, and during second grade, um, I hadn't finished some of my work because I had like 5 pages of work left to do towards lunchtime, and my second grade teacher was like, "All right, since you can't finish it in the classroom, then um, you are gonna finish it at lunch." So I got in trouble at lunch, and I was sent to the receptionist office. Me and my friend Sammy got in trouble, I think, for the same thing. So we were sent to the uh, receptionist office, and the way the office was it was this really nice waiting room, doctor style, where the chairs were lined up, and the receptionist was behind this glass wall, and she was sitting there doing her paperwork, and Sammy, me and him were sitting over there rubbing our heads because we had this really big headache because the work was so tiresome and so just dull. So anyway, the work was so dull and so time consuming and just so mind numbingly hard that we asked the receptionist for help one day, and she was like, "No, you got in trouble. You did something bad, and I don't know what, but I'm not gonna help you. You're gonna do this on your own." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess we're not getting any help on this then." Um, and when I first went to this school, even even before my first day, they held me back because I didn't know how to write in cursive. I had such a hard time in that school. Not only because I was treated like an outcast, and all the teachers, half of the students treated me like crap, but because I didn't know how to write in cursive and I had to repeat kindergarten twice. So, yeah. Um, so I told my mom and my dad about everything that I had just previously talked about. I told them about everything. I eventually just caved and told them this is what they've been doing. We I need help. So they were like, all right, we're pulling you out of school." So they pulled me out and they put me in Autauga because, believe it or not, Autauga was again the best school for me because, again, my mom didn't want me treated like an outcast. She didn't want me being sent to an all black school, which was the Autauga County School, um, a little up the road a ways from my old house. She didn't want me treated like an outcast, so they sent me to Autauga, and Autauga, in their eyes, was a lot better than U Life because um, they had, I guess you could say diversity. They had, you were allowed to write in print. They had a lot of technical advancements, I guess you could say, for 2010's time. They had a lot of technological advances, and the school was a lot better in their eyes than New Life was, and in some ways it was. In some ways, Otago was better than New Life. But if you saw my previous video, um, my experience in a private school, which this is going to be my experience in a private school part two. If you saw that, if you saw that previous video, then you're gonna know that it really wasn't better than New Life in any way possible at all. Um, anyway, I will see you guys later. I'm gonna upload this right now, so I'll probably see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow my schedule is to play Starry Cash and Comics Bob. Because in that rant video that I did previously, um, y'all are gonna see me play Comics Bob and Starry Cash and just absolutely destroy them. I hope y'all are looking forward to that. I will see y'all tomorrow when I record again. Goodbye.